All right, guys. So Japan 4, he did go for the India shot, which is interesting to me, and I think may have been one of the best things that possibly could have gone for me. Um, because what that means is 4 fighters survived. Now, I don't need any fighters in Moscow for G5, and y'all recall I was saying I need, like 7, 8. Really, I need to get to 9. I miscounted. So I just recalculated everything. But I've got 4 US fighters that could land in India this next turn. So then I'll have 8 fighters between G5 and G6 I can move up, plus 1 from here. So I'll have 9 fighters I can fly in, plus I'm going to bring my bomber up here. Now, one of the things I'm going to have to keep an eye on, right, is he did keep his 1 infantry here. So next Japan, Japan 5, he can send a transport, grab, hit here with 3 fighters and 1 battleship because there's only 1 unit. So I do need to cover there, but I've got enough that I can build an AA and an infantry for UK here, as well as a carrier and 2 fighters over in either C Zone 6 or 7 on UK 5, which means UK 6 they can start flying. I can start doing my 2 fighter a turn pump from the UK into Moscow. And any of the Sea Lion stuff is going to be not looking so bad for a little bit. So the AA and the infantry should allow, with dice not being too horribly, me to be able to fly in all 4 of the Americans. Because think about UK 5, these 4 planes are going to fly up, so it's going to just leave the 4 American planes that I'm going to fly in there, or 5 with the bomber sitting there, and then what I build with UK, which would be an infantry and artillery. And I'm hoping the most he gets is 3 hits out of the infantry and 3 fighters, and I wipe him out. And then I can fly at least 4, if not all 5 planes, US planes, into here. Like I said, then I'll also build the carrier over here. Meanwhile, we're going to fly these 2 fighters over to C Zone 61, where this carrier is going to catch them. And then on US 5, they can pump into Russia. Additionally, I don't need all 4 of these fighters for the fleets. That I'm going to be able to fly 2 of these fighters over here to Egypt that I'm going to be working on stacking up. That can go 1, 2, 3, 4. So then I'm going to have 6 fighters that can fly in for the G7 attempt. So the reason I tell you all that, this is why finding ways to get fighters to the center of the board can be critical. So here's my calculators. And what I calculated is if he did a max build, so this turn, G5, he can't build. He just has what he has. And this is what he can attack with. This is what I'm going to have defense-wise. We got good odds there. G6 now, I get my 9 fighters and my bomber in there, and he builds out 3 bombers and artillery and infantry. I've figured out what the biggest attack power he could have would be. He gets up to a 40% chance of winning Moscow at significant negative value. Then I'll be able to pump in those 6 more fighters I was just talking about for G7, as well as counting the 3 infantry I can build for Russia, and you'll see G7, he's actually going to lose odds as he goes along. So if he continues to focus on tanks, then that's going to be trouble for him. So we might, just might, be able to sneak by that peak in there. And meanwhile, once I land my carrier, I'm going to start landing my troops on this side, so that he's going to then have to start dealing with a Western front. So it's going to be tight. Now, the one thing I did not calculate in those G6 and G7 odds is Japan suiciding themselves into Moscow, including these fighters. He can move the fighters on land, on J5, J6, hit there, and then, J6 hitting, and then G7 maybe getting a little bit better odds. But I'm feeling pretty excited about where we're at now. He's only got a handful of Japan troops in there. Fleet's not coming back. He's not going to be building any transports in here. He may consider building a factory, which at this stage in the game with so few land troops is tough if you build it on the coast. So he might look at like a Kazakh factory for Japan to start being able to build units in. So starting to feel decent here. I'm feeling a little bit okay. It's going to depend on J5 and how that India handles out. So here's the rest of what I fully expect. G5, he's going to take Persian, push his tanks, as many tanks down here as he can, and still hold Caucasus, which means he could put a whole bunch down here. So he's going to be looking at taking India G6, since, again, I'm hoping to have it so he can't come here. So that's why all I'm going to leave here is there'll be 1 infantry and 1 AA. So I'm fully expecting him to take India G6 and then try to come back for Moscow. So I want to make that as challenging as possible. So that means on UK 5, US 5, I want to get units in range of being able to attack India. For the UK, unfortunately, that really only means there's going to be just this one guy on a transport that I'll be able to position. There's not much more I can do about that. But the US, we've got 2 transports here. We are going to take Borneo this turn and stack it. So he'll have his one on US4. This guy is going to come down in here and drop his 2 units here where they can't be hit. So then on US5, they can go 1, 2, so that I can get a factory getting ready to get up on here. So I'll have 1 infantry sitting here, 1 infantry sitting here. On that turn 5, I can bring both transports back here where I will build 3 ground. They can pick up 4, 5 ground, plus all my air that I'm going to have floating around threatening India. So hopefully we can make this a back and forth a little bit and make him work for it. So in any case, that's our plan, and that's what we're going to stick to. So like I said, we're going to be setting up the 2-fighter UK pump coming in this way. I'm going to continue. I'm going to just leave this carrier parked here where he can send 2 fighters here this turn, 2 fighters built here. Next turn they can fill there. The ones here can go into Moscow. So we're going to have a 4-fighter pump going to Moscow during all of this setup. I don't need more boats down here because he's been excommunicated and they're only going to have 1 ground unit to play with, so that's nice. These eventually will cause havoc over in the Atlantic, and I'm going to have to defend that, but we'll worry about that as we have to deal with that, basically. So meanwhile, I want to continue to work on pumping up transporting units over here in order to protect the G6 Sea Lion and keeping it down at around a 30% shot. I've got to use my transports to take 3 of these units and this guy, so that they have 4 units capable still of coming back to the UK. So I'm going to bring a couple guys down south here with the tank, so that they're getting ready for mobility in case Japan comes over this way, and we're just going to get set up that way. So I'm going to be building 2 infantry that I'm going to put here that can come up to here. So one of my transports is going to come down to 23. Next turn, he can come to 10. My other transport is going to come up to 10 to meet him. And so then I'm going to just have a US shucking going on here. And unless he brings his bomber out to the coast, I don't have to worry about the bomber disrupting it at all. If he brings it to the coast, then we'll adjust to what we have to. And then, of course, we are going to build an industry for the Philippines. So an industry, 2 fighters, 2 infantry is our build this turn. So like I said, we're going to bring him right on down into here. I was considering every which way to possibly take the DEI and kill this infantry now, but it just makes things too awkward and too possible for a goof up. So we're not going to. We're going to save that and take that next turn. Don't think we have any other attacks. I don't think he can hit 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So the UK fighters will be able to take out the transport. We'll take him out with the 2 fighters that we're going to keep back with the fleet here. I could take everything and attack the fleet right now, the Japan fleet. I could do a 1-2 and it's pretty good that I could kill it, but I wouldn't have my fighters survive to get to Moscow. And since this fleet is relatively impotent, since it's only going to have 1 Japan, this is more deadly. If he had all 8 of those infantry that he's taking around with him and coming around here, then he's threatening DC and London with 4 transports, and that would have been more scary. But since he's only got 1 infantry, we'll find a time to pick him off some other time. And I'm just going to let the fleet live for right now. Let's see, I think that's all our attacks right now. I do still need to use a destroyer block for my guys going in here, which is going to be my 4 destroyers, carrier, loaded. We're going to send all my beloved planes possible into there, and everything else is coming, including the destroyer, the battleship, and the cruiser coming on down into here. Carrier's going to sit tight. So no. Let's see, what do I want to take here? Unfortunately, this is going to leave me a little bit thin that he can do a transport attack somewhere along North Africa that I'm not super excited about, but oops, give me my transport. I want to do that. Do I just want to leave it like that? It exposes these guys. But if I move the infantry up, I mean, they're kind of exposed. I mean, he got fighter, bomber, battleship, 2 units that can come over anyway, so I think we'll go that way with it. Keep our destroyer to help protect our UK transport there. Put our complex down. Put our 2 fighters there. Put our 2 infantry here. So now all 3 of these transports can work back to UK to save it if he hits it, and I'll have the 8 build plus the fighter coming back. So we'll hope my math was good on there. I'm a little concerned about that, to be frankly honest. I ain't gonna lie, but we are here. We're done. All right. I'm not going to build the second AA yet because over the next couple turns I'm going to have I'm predicting enough to buy an extra man. So it would be a matter of where, I guess what's that come to? Well, it'll be where I can get an extra, so I'll have two infantry versus being able to buy an AA, and I think 2 infantry is better off than buying a second AAA. We're going to keep an eye on it. We may end up buying a second AA at some point, but right now, I don't need it yet, so I'm not going to do it yet. So if I go back, I just want to double check myself. Go back to my G5, 1 AA, 30 infantry. I'm thinking about leaving 1 infantry out and leaving him this so that he has to put his infantry again, so that he has to attack there. I have thought about putting a couple infantry in the AA and make it awkward, but you know what? There's no tank over here. I'm going to move him in. I'm just going to save him. Let him move 1 infantry over. Let him do it. Alright. We're not going to waste any ammunition on Japan with these guys. These guys are going to have to wait. And Japan's going to get a little bit of money, but you know, ultimately when this falls, if as much of this is orange, that's less money that Germany can't have. So yeah, it feels like 25 versus 20 there, but it's a whole lot of infantry, I guess. So let's do the Danny Uncanny math here. So these will count as 69. These are 5 each, so I got a 79 total attack strength. These are 5 each themselves, so that's 65. These are 4 each, so 24. So 89. So yeah, he's good. He's safe. So that's what that total attack strength, total defense strength. If there's a 5-point difference, then it's a statistical win. But he's got over whatever, like a 10-point on his strength. Plus, that's not counting the AA hit point absorbing. So he's safe. So we're not going to attack anything. We are just Russia turtling, Russia turtling, Russia turtling. Alright, here we go, turtle power. So I really feel like him hitting India at a pretty big loss was a mistake. I really do. I think he should have took those 8 units, moved out this way, and then been able to go here and create all sorts of havoc elsewhere, instead of just burning up 3 of his plane and all that 8 infantry and whatnot. So we'll see if I'm right. Like I said, I fully expect Germany to be sitting here next turn, so we're not going to build a lot in here, just enough to protect from Japan, and then get all of this hopefully flown into Moscow. We don't have to worry about the German bomber can't do a clearance yet on the blocker, so we're good there for another turn. And then hopefully we're going to be, you know, again with us moving things in and moving people up, I believe these sea zones should all be dead zoned. So if he's gonna stay, in anywhere in here, these ranges, he'll have to use a blocker or two in there. It uses destroyer and cruisers blockers, and the cruiser won't block the subs, obviously. So I feel like these guys are gonna have to move out, and like he could send a transport over to take Australia for a turn. I don't know. Maybe he could bring all these guys. He might be able to bring all these guys down to 38 and use destroyer cruiser protection. His fighters appear 1, 2, 3. They can't reach. I don't know. I'm not sure what exactly he's gonna do with that Japan. I feel like this was a mistake on his behalf, and that's gonna creep that door open a little bit more for me.